Greetings and welcome, dear viewers that are new to my channel. Just to forewarn you all, the content of this channel is not meant for children under the age of 13. In fact, this video might contain language that is appropriate for adults only. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. If you are of the appropriate age range and like what you see and haven't done so already, I sincerely hope you decide to stay by hitting the subscribe button and clicking the bell for notification of future content. Thank you all, and enjoy the video.
Well, it's one thing after another, from problems with getting refunds to lack of transparency from the company itself on who is in charge. Those who attended feel this entire event was a flop.
Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. On today's program, I am here to talk about Walker Stalker Con, since it's been about a couple of months since I've covered anything Walker Stalker related on this channel. And the last time I really covered anything was back in October when the Atlanta event went down, and well, that was a massive garbage fire to say the least. But not a lot of news has occurred since the time I have recorded my other videos, other than the interim CEO stepping down. There was a period of time for a little while where the ticket sales were down for all of their locations, but since then, I have recently checked. Besides Nashville, their ticket sales for Chicago and London are up, but the other locations, on the other hand, those particular locations are not selling any tickets. So as of last weekend, the Nashville event occurred, and I've seen some of the various tweets of people sharing pictures of the con floor, and it's rather sad, to be bluntly honest, because as someone who has been an attendee of Walker Stalker myself for 4 years, to see the attendance this past year is just absolutely abysmal. There was barely anybody on the con floor, and there hasn't really been a whole lot of news outlets that have been covering what's been going on with Walker Stalker Con. But lucky for us, courtesy of Nerd and Tie, they've actually done a story on what's happened with Nashville, so we're going to go on ahead and go over it. So, Walker Stalkers LLC's FanFest Nashville appears to be a disaster. Disaster is, it's a disaster to say the least. Walker Stalkers LLC's FanFest Nashville is currently taking place right now, and from all accounts it has been a complete disaster. The event, which was originally supposed to take place last August, has seen a number of guest cancellations, an almost empty venue, and if what's been alleged on social media is true, is only functioning because Dwayne "Dog the Bounty Hunter" Chapman, of all people, has stepped up to pay the bills. Yeah, so what I've been hearing is, and of course this has to be classified as rumor until Dog himself or one of his PR reps actually confirms this, but allegedly, he has paid for the guests' travel accommodations because the convention itself has not been fulfilling the travel expenses, which is the reason why many of the guests that were scheduled for Atlanta last year have ended up canceling. There was about 10 or 11 guest cancellations, and there were at least, I think, a couple of talent agencies that do PR for their clients at various conventions and stuff have actually come out and said that Walker Stalker has not fulfilled their guests' or their clients' travel expenses, so hence why the cancellations have taken place. So now it seems like, again, this is alleged, that Dog actually stepped in to cover any of the guests that were reportedly going to be there. He covered their travel expenses. So let's see, it says for the venue for the event is the Williamson County AG Center, but seems to largely sit empty. A number of guests canceled their appearances, including Tyler Main and Michael Rowe, who both remain listed on the convention's website. Yeah, that's another thing they've been pretty notorious about. Now, I can say from experience, anytime a guest is canceled, back when FanFest or Walker Stalker Con, whatever you want to call it, back in their heyday, whenever a guest canceled, they actually made the cancellation announcement on their website. But now it's gotten to where if they do post cancellations, it's actually on their website in the fine print. They've never actually come out and notified the public that these guests have canceled. You'd actually have to go to their website to confirm that. And there has been stories of guests whose pictures were on the guest list, but they themselves did not confirm that they were attending. But that's beside the point. We have not been able to confirm this, but allegedly Walker Stalkers LLC owner James Frazier is out of the country for personal reasons. Instead, the online staff is being managed by Michael DeVault. Now, if many of you don't know, I have actually covered, it was probably my last video I did on News on Walker Stalker, was that Michael DeVault had stepped down as interim CEO. And this past weekend at Nashville, he was spotted running the show. So I have no clue exactly as to why he's still involved when he apparently stepped down. It's just for reasons unknown. DeVault, some of you may remember, resigned as CEO of Walker Stalkers LLC after only 1 week on the job. Exactly what I covered. DeVault had taken over after Frazier had resigned as CEO in the wake of an incident with guest Angel Theory at the company's Atlanta event. It hasn't been clear who was running their events since then, but most had assumed Frazier, who still owns the company, had resumed leadership. See, now to my understanding, with this being an LLC, James cannot just necessarily assign someone as a CEO. I think he actually has to sell the company. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not familiar with how businesses work, but that's from what I've heard. According to several social media posts, the company has had a hard time finding staff for the event. So we got KCB Bassett says, apparently the Nashville FanFest has turned into a living nightmare. Every convention promoter's fever dream is happening right now in Nashville. Something about all the staff and ambassadors just walking out, and the show might be canceled now. Read stories of death threats and talking volunteers off the ledge. What a nightmare. And that's another thing too. There apparently has been 2 or 3 staff members that have confirmed that they were resigning after Nashville. As the Misty of The Mist, you guys should definitely go follow Misty over on Twitter. She's been doing a pretty good job at keeping people informed as to what's been happening with Walker Stalker Con. Just a little food for thought there. Yes, 3 sources confirmed 5 people are at the hotel with DeVault, former interim CEO, but everyone else left and are not returning. It's like a switch finally flipped in their head. The event appears to be desperate for attendees. Reportedly, they are allowing, with a screenshot of a page's Facebook page, free entry to FanFest Nashville. Yeah, imagine that, paying buku bucks for VIP only to find out that there are people that are literally being let into the convention for free. That's got to be a major slap in the face. From all accounts, though, due to the lack of staff on the floor, there are very few attempts at badge checking at the convention at all. This has led some people who paid large amounts for VIP entry to resent the purported chaos. Went to FanFest because my parents got gold VIP, but a lot of the celebs they wanted to see backed out. Completely waste of time. Parents bought $500 tickets for literally nothing, as they're not checking bags, and VIP means literally nothing. Even the gifts aren't here for VIP. And that's another thing that I've heard, is that apparently there's been people that have gone to the convention who I've heard have said that there were no gifts for VIPs. That's another thing. So if you were a VIP guest, especially if you're gold or platinum, they would include some little trinkets for you to take home, including such things as a t-shirt and stuff. But apparently that was not the case. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because they don't have any money? I don't know. The lack of staff has also led to alleged lack of weapons and safety checks for props, which has alarming implications for the event's security as well. One of the more distressing pieces of information that's been floating around, from a business standpoint at least, is that there are allegations that the convention didn't pay for many of the guests' accommodations or fees. And that's one thing that I mentioned with Atlanta. There were about 10 or 11 cancellations because of that very reason. We have not been able to independently confirm this, but it appears that one of the convention's other guests, Doug Chapman, and his team have had to step up to keep the proverbial lights on this weekend. though not without no though not without criticism. My dude, you need to remove one of those words there. It's not needed. Chapman seems to be the main reason for FanFest Nashville has been functional at all. We reached out to Walker Stalkers LLC for a comment on this story, but have yet to receive a response. Honestly, none of this is a great look for an event the Tennessee Better Business Bureau called a scam last summer. It's hard to see how any of this is going to continue forward, considering the ongoing financial issues that seem to continue to rock the company, the number of high profile guests no longer willing to appear, and the apparent general chaos surrounding the company's leadership. I don't think anyone would be surprised if FanFest Nashville turned out to be the last convention this company ever runs. Now, of course, I want to reiterate on this. What I'm about to disclose is you could classify as rumor. So apparently, allegedly, there were some staff members that have said, were told that Nashville is the last FanFest. And apparently, also allegedly, somebody who was working Froggy Photo Ops has said the same thing, that they were told that this is the last FanFest event. I'd want to say I don't know if that's necessarily true for this reason that they've been marketing the hell out of their Chicago and London locations. And tickets are on sale for both of those locations. And they've also have some major names attached to those locations, that being three of the actors, Ian Glenn, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, and Pilu Asbeck, both major actors from Game of Thrones, are attached to both locations. So, and knowing how James is, he, come hell or high water, he's going to make those events happen. Otherwise, he would have no choice but to fulfill any sort of paying back of bank disputes. Because, as many of you know, if you file a dispute with your bank and the person who gets the dispute can come around and refute it. However, if the event does not go through, if it gets canceled, well, then obviously the person running the event would have no other choice but to refund back the money if they end up getting disputed, a bank dispute. So that's why I really don't see. I think that James and whoever is running the organization at this point will do whatever it takes to make both locations happen. If I had to guess, I think that Chicago will be the final FanFest, because there are other locations that they have cited on their website, but last time I checked, and that was for Dallas and for New Jersey and Atlanta. I've checked all three of those locations, and the last time I checked, there were no tickets up for sale. In fact, it said that tickets are unavailable. So something tells me that I'm thinking Chicago is probably going to be the last event. I could be entirely wrong. I think it really all depends. It depends on, I think in James's case, best case scenario, he might get lucky and there might be another guest, say with London coming up next month. He might end up getting lucky and he might have another guest that will act like dog and actually feel generous and pay for the guest's travel expenses. Of course, I don't see whoever steps in, I don't see them paying for any of the travel expenses for anybody coming overseas. But again, there's still that possibility that James might not get lucky on that. So if nobody steps in to pay for any of the guests' travel expenses, well, that could be a whole nother story, and it could get to the point where James might have no other choice but to fold the company. And also, there was a local news report for Nashville. I think it was WSMV. I will post a clip in, if I haven't posted a clip in the video, I will be sure to locate the link to post a link in the description below. But according to this news source, WSMV, the Tennessee Attorney General is investigating Walker Stalker Con, and if the investigation turns out that they can confirm that there's been violations of consumer law, well, they're the AG is going to end up going after Walker Stalker Con. So this is going to be a very interesting year in terms of what's going to happen with this dumpster fire of a convention. But I'm curious to know exactly what your guys' thoughts are on all of this. Now, also personally, if it's true that what Dog did with paying for everyone's travel expenses and their accommodations and stuff, as much as I would like to commend him, I don't think this is the best way to go. I think this is only going to enable James, and James is going to think that he can just rely on somebody else to end up paying for what he should be obligated to pay for. And hopefully nobody else gets the right idea like Dog does and decides to feel generous, if you know what I mean. But like I said, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you think that Nashville is going to be the final fan fest? Do you think Chicago is going to be the final location or the final event? I'm curious to know what you guys think, so definitely leave me a comment. And until next time, dear friends, this is Cynical Lindsay, signing off.